But meantime, searching for answers after the deadly Boeing crash. It's a story we've been following throughout the week and will continue to follow. Obviously, the FBI is reportedly joining the criminal investigation into how the airplane manufacturer's 737 MAX model was certified to fly. According to the Seattle Times, a federal grand jury is looking into the certification process for the plane after reports emerged that some FAA employees voiced concerns prior to the aircraft's approval. This coming as the Pentagon's Office of Inspector General launches an ethics probe into acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan and his ties to Boeing. Guys, there were also reports that the company was charging for security features that could have potentially prevented the issues that these doomed jets faced. And that, obviously, optics-wise, doesn't look good.
No. When it comes to these probes, right, there's kind of these two issues at hand, right? Whether we have Shanahan really kind of like violating ethics by pushing Boeing against Lockheed Martin, right? Their other big competitor when it comes to these defense contracts. And that doesn't really have as much to do with safety, really just more of an ethics probe when we get government officials kind of pushing private, or not private, but these companies, right? In terms of its business. But then we also have this safety issue with the FAA, and I actually think that that's a huge problem. Last week when we talked to Bill McNeese, who was the former FAA inspector, he kind of said, look, there is this revolving door that exists in the industry. And to an extent, it does make sense. If you were working at Boeing for 20, 30 years, you might hop over to the FAA, you might leap over to a lobbying agency, but you then have to start asking yourself, what are the safety concerns that are falling through the cracks? Are there any blind eyes that are being turned because people are so involved in this industry? You know, you have a buddy over at Boeing.
Sure,
maybe you let a plane go through with some concerns that. Yeah,
but that's kind of the issue. I mean, we can talk about any industry, really. Amanda, we can talk about Wall Street. We can talk about people who are at the SEC monitoring Wall Street.
And we've seen, and when it comes to Wall Street and the SEC, we've seen how that worked out, haven't we?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that there's a very limited amount of people that might understand these things as well.
But with this industry in particular, I think any concern has to be, escalated and investigated, and there can't be any favors or, anything getting by. I think people are obviously going to be extremely upset to find out anyone questioned the airplane. I mean, that is like, heads are definitely going to roll at that company. I mean, you can't have a concern over something that is carrying so many lives on a daily basis.
And charging extra for it as well. Yeah. They said that they won't be charging extra for it anymore. I think that's important to note. But it'd be I guess, comparative to a car company saying we'll charge extra for airbags.
Well, yes, and even more concerning about that story was that regulators didn't require that these safety features be included standard, and that's the point, right? To your point, if car companies sold airbags as extra, that's already problematic, and then it would be even more problematic if the government agencies that are in charge of making sure that cars are safe are like, you know what? Actually, airbags aren't really that critical, and they're not that necessary because we're good friends with our folks over at GM or Ford or Chevy.
We will see, I guess, as the investigation goes on, if that was the case, but we're seeing Boeing shares off about 0.7% right now. And when we back up and look at the broader markets,